So you want to get started in auto body and paint work for a career. You clicked on the right video. Welcome to Slay's Garage. My name is Garrett, and in today's video, I'll be going over how I got into the industry and telling you how you can do the same thing. Now here on screen, I included timestamps. If you want to skip around to different parts in the videos, please feel free to do that. I have so much to say about this industry. I hope you enjoy the video. I spent a few months putting it together, so if you could give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more auto body and paint videos just like this. Without further ado, let's get started. Last summer, I created a video for my YouTube channel called A Day in the Life of an Auto Body and Paint Tech. And since posting that video about 1 year ago today, it's generated a lot of interest and a lot of questions. So I thought I would come on here and make another video answering some of those questions and talk a little bit about my path, where I came from, and how I got started in this industry. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. My name is Garrett. At the time of making this video, I'm 25 years old, and I've been in the field for about 3 years now. And I'm gonna tell you how I got started right now. But before I do, if you're not already subscribed, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. I upload a brand new video on my 1986 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and it is such the project. I got so much body work ahead of me, and I'd eventually, within the next year hopefully, would like to paint it. So if you're interested in auto body and paint, obviously that's why you're here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow that project. And I'm also going to be making more videos just like this, answering some of your guys' questions. Although I don't know it all, I do have some answers to questions that you guys might have. So if you have any questions, drop them down below. I'd love to answer them. Let's rewind the clocks back to 2016. That's when I was a senior in high school and I had just graduated. So I went to a community college for 2 years, decided it wasn't for me, and I was gonna go and try do something else. I did try quite a few other things, including an HVAC trade school. I also worked quite a few other jobs in hopes of finding something that I like. Ultimately, none of that stuff ended up working for me. In 2019, I enrolled in an HVAC school here in Southfield, Michigan. It was about a 1-year program. After I was done with that, COVID had just hit, so I was trying to find a job in the HVAC field. I did get 2 calls. I really did not enjoy what I had been doing in HVAC school, and I was trying to think what else I could do. When I was attending the HVAC school, I randomly had the bright idea to put a sunroof in one of my cars. At the time, I owned a 2008 Ford Fusion. And when I had that car, that was really the first car to express my creativity and try a lot of small DIY modifications, such as plasti dipping my wheels. I created a DIY custom grill for it. That was pretty cool. I also spray painted the headliner, which I do not recommend anyone doing. So anyways, I had the bright idea to put a sunroof in this car. I had no idea where I got the idea from. I ended up telling my dad about it, and he told me that when my dad was a kid, his dad put a sunroof in one of his cars. I called up my grandpa, asked him a few questions on how he did it, throwing around the idea that I wanted to do it. Luckily, he was pretty encouraging. And that also begged the question, if my grandpa did it without YouTube, without internet, without Google, what's my excuse? Why can't I do it? So I ended up ordering a 2008 factory Ford Fusion sunroof. When I got that, it was just the glass, and I slowly found out all the other things I was missing to this sunroof project, like the electronics and the frame and the track and the hoses. So I ended up sending that back, and I came across a universal sunroof. So I ended up going with this universal sunroof, got it in the mail, and I actually did go forward with the project, and I do have a video up on the channel. Definitely check it out. It's so crazy because I didn't have any sort of experience. No bodywork experience, no metal working experience, no nothing. I mean, I had always been good with my hands. I worked a construction job one time. I had always considered myself pretty handy. I really didn't have a backup plan, and when my dad saw me doing this, he was pretty mad. He was pretty mad. Here's some pictures and videos of the mess. It actually turned out pretty decent. My bodywork, Bondo skills, absolutely horrible. Looks like a freaking mess. If you want to have a little fun and throw some roasts my way down in the comments, please be my guest. So after I installed the sunroof, I threw a nice thick coat of black Plastidip over the entire thing and called it a day. And I remember taking it to my HVAC trade school, and some of my classmates were like, "Oh man, this kid really did this to his car. Look at this." I really did enjoy my time doing the project, and I enjoyed how it came out, because it didn't come out all that bad. The glass did fit a little funky, but I would like to think it wasn't because of me. But I only had it leak water one time. That was because the glass didn't fit straight, because again, it was funky. My cat's crying. What's up, man? But really, I would do this project again if I had some sort of, maybe a daily driver or just an old junky car to mess around with. But to be honest, if you're thinking about doing this, it's probably a good idea not to. So anyways, after I finished my HVAC school in February of 2020, I started applying to these jobs. I got 1 or 2 callbacks, and I really didn't want to go through with it. And I was working a part-time job that I was just gonna stick with for a little bit until I figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And then just over a month later, in March of 2020, that's when COVID hit, and we were all locked up for a couple months. And during that time, I had started this YouTube channel, and I was also thinking to myself, I wonder if I can do something with my hands, with cars, with something that, something that I really enjoy doing. And I started thinking about that sunroof project. Maybe I can do this as not only my passion, but as a paycheck too. And that's exactly what I did. And in July of 2020, I started applying online into a few body shops in my area, and I landed a job as a quote-unquote paint line technician at a Mako here in the Detroit area. And what my job was to sand down the cars before the cars would be handed over to the people that would prep them out for paint. So before they would mask off trim, Mako doesn't remove door handles most of the time, so they would mask off the door handles, they would mask off some of the emblems. Before the car would reach them, the car would come to me so I can sand it down and have it be shipped to the maskers and then to paint. So that was my job, and I did that for about 9 months. And when I reached that 9-month mark, I had really been itching to get started in body work. But before I got started in body work, I was also wanting to do paint, and I couldn't decide. And when I told the people at my work later on, after I'd been there for some time, that I wanted to do paint, they were sort of throwing things around like, everyone that comes in here wants to paint. And after they ended up telling me that, they did tell me that I would have to learn how to mask off the cars for paint and spend quite a bit of time. I'm not sure exactly how much time, but I'm probably guessing a year learning just how to mask off cars. And I was thinking, I don't really want to do that. If I could just hop straight into body work, I'll just do body work then. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. I didn't really want to mask off cars for a year. And I started working under the oldest body guy at the shop. His name is Bob, and he became my mentor. I was the body shop apprentice. I started this position back in January of 2021, and I stayed at this Mako for about 2 years. Now for this part in the video, I'll be showing a bunch of pictures of cars that I worked on and cars that I also did not work on while I was at Mako, and I'll also be talking about my 1986 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I got this Jeep Grand Wagoneer back in August of 2020 when I was just a sander at Mako, and I thought I could take on the world since I wanted to learn how to do body and paint work being at this Mako. I thought it was such a great idea to get this thing, not knowing that I chose probably the worst project car to start with.
$1 million success right here.
Bruh.
The size and it being 4 doors and the high quality vision that I had for this Jeep and me not knowing a thing at the time of this purchase, that was such a horrible idea. But make sure you subscribe and follow the 1986 Jeep Grand Wagoneer project. So again, I purchased this thing back in August of 2020 for around $3,800 with this huge vision of restoring it and me not knowing a single thing. And I bought this thing behind my parents' back and kept it at one of my friend's apartments in the Grand Rapids area. Breaking the news to my mom and dad about this thing and the vision I had for it, that was a lot of fun. So now we're hopping to September 17th, 2020. Here's a picture of me driving it home. You can see the shadow being casted on the back of the semi-truck. That was pretty cool. Here's the Jeep parked in the driveway when I got home, and the Jeep parked in the driveway in the next morning. Thought this picture was really cool. Here it is parked right beside my Mustang that I had at the time. I had a 2012 Mustang GT with the 5.0. And I absolutely loved that car. I didn't do too many things to that car, but in terms of bodywork, well, it's not so much bodywork. I did end up dyeing the seats from tan to red. And it was my first time ever dyeing seats. The seats were leather, and I bought this kit online. I believe it was from eBay. And I ended up dyeing it a BMW factory red color. And it turned out super nice. What do you think about the seats? All right. See you later. Oh,
Let's go.
oh. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about right here. Nice weight reduction right here, you know what I'm saying? Might go to the other side right now. Yeah. Let's go to the other side. Yeah. Plenty of room in here to participate in all the activities that's
Excuse me, sir.
going on in here.
You got a party going back in the truck here, sir?
Oh yes, sir. Right here where these big old booties gonna be placed. Whipping the Mustang. Oh, she about to whip hard as heck. Ain't that right, Lulu? Oh, she is out. And I did this project back in July and August of 2020 when I just started working at Mako. I remember driving to Mako with just one seat in my car while the rest of the seats were curing. Now, because you clicked on this video and I really appreciate you being here and listening, I'm going to show you a really embarrassing video of me driving an Enterprise Escalade, just being a goofball and having a good time during my Mako days. Man, I feel like a bad dad driving this. Like a bad dad. Like, hey, keep quiet back there.
I drove down here fine earlier.
Man, this thing is dope.
A little bit.
Okay, I got a little bit off topic with my Wagoneer and the Mustang. Now we're going to get back on track and I'm going to continue to show you cars that were at Mako that I worked on and cars that I did not work on that just came through our shop. So when I worked at Mako, there was a ton of variety that came through the shop. This wasn't your average shop that just had the typical brand new cars coming through the shop. You got new and old. I think the oldest car that came through the shop was probably a 1940s vehicle. And the newest car that came through the shop was, at the time, a brand new 2020, 2021, 2022 model year. You see everything come through that shop, and you see the craziest colors get painted on some of these cars. When I was a sander, or paint line technician with a fancy term, we used to get these Dodge Charger police cars and we would paint the front doors white. And this video clip is some of us taking those Chargers back to where they came from. And when we were driving there, we just looked like we were up to no good. It looked like a GTA mission. It was hilarious. So here's a Chrysler 300 that I sanded down and it's all prepped out to go in the booth. Here's a Ford Fusion, same deal. I actually got to paint a little bit of this. It was my first time ever painting a car, so that was pretty cool. There's a BMW with some spinner wheels on it. That's crazy. Here's a picture of two vehicles masked off and ready to go into the paint booth. Here's a Dodge Charger up on the frame rack that we had at Mako. Here's one of those police cars again where we paint the white doors. This picture with the Mustang is a shop that I used to go to on the weekends while I was a sander at Mako. Here's some footage of an old Jeep Liberty that they painted at Mako. I remember this Jeep. They went from black to purple and they did the door jambs too. And you probably noticed that Mako does not R&I. They don't remove and replace or remove and install lights, door handles, trim pieces. Here's a cool muscle car that came to the shop. I think this is a Dodge Monaco, 1960s. This thing was pretty cool to see come to the shop. I love all the classic cars that would come in. Here's an old Fox body that came to the paint line. Got a whole new paint job. Had a drop-in sunroof just like my old Ford Fusion did. Here's that shop that I worked at on the weekends. Here's the frame rack at Mako. Here's an old Cadillac that we got that came into Mako. You know, sometimes I wish that some of these old cars wouldn't have come to Mako because these things need real work, real restoration, and not just a quick repair and paint job. But the inside of this thing was crazy. The seats are like couches. There's plush pile carpeting everywhere you look. So much detail. Here's an Amazon van that they painted. Pretty cool WRX that came through. An Audi. That thing was pretty cool as well. Here's that old Cadillac painted. It actually came out pretty nice. Here's an old green Mercedes that we had in the shop. Green interior and green exterior. That thing was pretty sweet. Here's my Wagoneer at that shop I used to go to on the weekends. Brought it there a couple times to work on. Remember when I said that all types of cars come to the shop? About half of those cars that come through either don't run or barely run as is and have a bunch of mill lights on the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. Here's a Chrysler Pacifica minivan that came into the shop. I didn't get to work on this because I was still a sander at the time, but the body guy who worked on this one got to R&I everything, and it turned out pretty great, and they painted it plum crazy purple. The people that own this was an older couple, and they have been wanting to do this for quite some time apparently, so that was pretty funny to see. Here's those Dodge Charger police cars again. This is one of the first times that I got to paint all by myself. I was doing a cut-in on a driver door in the paint booth. Here's that plum crazy Pacifica again and some other cars in the shop. You see the funniest things in customer cars.
In a Jeep Renegade.
Here's a Town and Country minivan. They accidentally painted rose gold. It was supposed to be a factory gold color. Not sure how that happened. Here's a blue Mustang. It was green before and they didn't want any bodywork, so that's why there's a crack in the hood. Here's a really cool WRX that came into the shop. I didn't get to work on this one, but my mentor did. He straightened out a lot of panels. There was quite a bit of rust around the whole exterior and he primed out the whole thing. This thing had a pretty cool built up engine inside too. And they painted it the World Rally blue color, I think, from Subaru. Turned out really nice. I love those wheels that go along with it too. This black Cherokee was probably the second or third week of me on the job doing collision repair. So it was really one of the first ever 20 or so jobs I've done. Someone went around the whole vehicle and keyed it. Here's an old Plymouth that came into me and my mentor's stall. The thing was pretty sweet. They ended up painting it in orange color, which you'll see here soon. I love the old classic cars that would come in the shop. Lots of variety at Mako. You see everything. There's the painter at Mako. He's pretty cool. Here's a red Cherokee X-Ray that came through the shop. This thing was pretty cool. They ended up painting it black. Here's an old AMC AMX that came through. Jeep CJ. They painted this one orange. Didn't get to work on that one, unfortunately. There's that old Plymouth that they painted orange. There's a Maserati that I got to pull around back. Didn't get to work on this one, but my mentor had fixed this one quite a few times. It was a reoccurring customer. Ooh. Whipping the Maserati. Bitch bad. Woo! Here I am driving a GMC Yukon. XL Denali, yo. XL Denali. In this video clip, I'm pulling around a Hummer H2 or Hummer H3 back into the shop. Never been in one of these boys before. Here's a picture of when I first got my toolbox. This is what it looked like as soon as it came out of the box. Got it stored away in the back corner over there by the frame rack. Here's a pretty cool Nissan wide body that came into the shop. Again, lots of variety. Here's a picture of a couple classic cars back there in the parking lot. Here's one of the first ever quarter jobs that I did on a Honda Civic. There's an old Ford Mustang that came in. This thing was pretty mint. It was pretty cool. There's a Ford Fusion I got to work on. I got to straighten out the door and the quarter dog leg. Here's an old Corvette I was pulling into the shop. Here's an International Harvester.
No, you're not. You're on video now. Don't do that.
Hey!
I will get fired. Don't do it.
Here's a 2011 to 14 Dodge Charger RT I got to work on. The front got hit, so they ordered a SRT front fascia I got to put on.
You know that purple rain had them hitters on foot. I see you acting strange.
And they ended up painting that car plum crazy purple, and it turned out really nice.
Purple rain is understood. Purple rain, purple rain, purple.
Here's a picture of my mentor's frame rack, toolbox, and refrigerator. For some reason, that day at the shop, my manager went around with tape and a pen and wrote Garrett's frame rack, Garrett's toolbox, and Garrett's fridge. Don't know why, but thought it'd be kind of funny to just throw it in the video. Here is a picture of the area and a couple of stalls that I used to work out of with my mentor. There's my Scion FRS in the shop too. I was working on this molded spoiler that day. Here's a picture of the inside of my toolbox just 5 months into collision repair. These are the tools that I had accumulated and bought. Here's a 1970 Chrysler New Yorker that came in. My mentor got to work on this one. He straightened out the quarters. I believe there was some rust going on back there and a couple of dents.
Floating like a Cadillac, or was that stinging like a Beamer?
Here's the back parking lot. Here I am sitting in the captain's chairs. I got to make a little slideshow for the front room of the work that we had done. Have a seat, please. Here's a classic car that got pulled into my stall. I got to straighten out a lot of panels and prime the entire thing. And then after I primed it, us body guys at Mako were responsible for blocking it and then priming it again before that vehicle was sent to the paint line for sanding. And then that car would be sent to the preppers and then to the paint booth to be painted. Here's some classic cars in the shop. didn't get to work on this old Yukon or Suburban. We had a lot of these come into the shop with rusted out rockers and quarters. This one turned out pretty nice, which you'll see later in the video. Here's an old Chevy that got pulled into me and my mentor's stalls. Got some frame time on this one. Here's the back parking lot. Here's a Ford Fusion that I got to work on. This thing was really, really rough, but it actually turned out pretty nice. Here's that Ford Fusion after paint. And that Chevy Suburban or Yukon. Here's my FRS molded spoiler project. If you're interested in seeing more videos on this, I have an entire playlist dedicated to it. Definitely go check it out.
We don't do videos.
Oh yeah, we do all the videos.
No,
The painter is hard at work here.
you gotta go in like this.
Oh yeah.
Here I am priming up my FRS spoiler. My Grand Wagoneer I drove into Mako a couple times. Here's my FRS with my primed up
What do you
spoiler.
think about those new headlights?
Don't be surprised if one day I just...
Here's that old Chevy that got pulled onto the frame rack. There it is after paint. Here's my FRS molded spoiler again. Here it is after paint. Here's an old Nova or Chevelle. This thing was really, really rough. It looked really good after paint. Painted it gray and they put some black stripes on it. It looked super nice. It's my FRS. Here's a Jeep Cherokee KL that came into the shop. So this picture is pretty interesting right here. This is a PT Cruiser that came in. Customer did not want any bodywork done to the vehicle. I have no idea why. They just wanted a new paint job. So that's exactly what they did. They gave the PT Cruiser a new paint job and the owner wanted it pink. They sprayed right over the rust. Here's a Chrysler Pacifica minivan that got pulled onto the frame rack. I was tearing it apart and taking pictures of some parts that I needed for it. Here's a Chrysler 300. It was a stolen and recovery vehicle. The whole thing was spray painted matte black. Here's an old Chevrolet Impala Wagon. This thing was super neat. Here's my mentor's Ford Ranger. Helped them redo rockers and a bedside on it. Check out this old thing. I think it's a 1980s or 1990s Toyota Crown, maybe? Let me know down in the comments below if you know. There's a matte blue Chrysler 300 that they painted.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that bitch like Stockton. smoke on the West Coast, yeah, I'm talking about pre-rolls. Dark hair bitch, she look like she go. She do. Hometown hero.
Whoa! This is my mentor screaming in the background. There's some interesting stuff that goes on in this field. If you're new to the field, you're gonna have a fun time. Here's a door that I was tearing apart. Here's an old Bronco that me and my mentor got to work on. We put on some new rockers. We straightened the quarters and fenders. Did a lot of work to this one. It was a fun project. It was a fun time. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't watched any of my videos, if you want to scroll through my old videos after you're done watching this video, you'll notice that I am pointing in my thumbnails with a stupid look on my face. This is where that stupid look came from. Thought I'd just put this in the video because I created this whole stupid look at Mako when I was working there. Here's that old Ford Bronco all primed up. Here it is in the booth getting sprayed with sealer and base. Here's a Ford Mustang the painter was painting. Here is a Honda Civic up on the frame rack. I have no idea why this thing sounds the way it does. It sounds like a fart can. I have no idea why. It's crazy. There's a Ford Explorer. Here's my Ford Ranger, my mentor's Ford Ranger, and the painter's truck all lined up. Look at that Ford gang. Here's a 1996 Buick with some wood on it. Old Honda Odyssey that they painted Destroyer Gray. Ford Explorer police car I got to work on. and an old 1960s Ford Galaxy. This thing was awesome. I loved working on it. My grandpa had one of these back when they were new, so I was kind of attached to this car and created a little bit of sentimental value to me just working on it. There's an old Ford Thunderbird that rolled into the shop. This thing was so rough. I never saw how this thing turned out, but I'm sure they eventually finished it. Here's that Ford Bronco all put together. Looked super nice. Came out really, really awesome. There's an old AMC that rolled into the shop with a 3 on the tree. I got to work on this thing, straighten out the fender, the quarter, and the door. AMC Rambler, that's what it's called. Here's a Honda S2000 that rolled in. I love these S2000s. So sad that they're not affordable. I would definitely be driving one if they were. Here's that Ford Galaxy again. I ended up priming this in the booth because it was such a big prime job, and you can only spray so much primer in the air legally, according to OSHA. Here's a Ram 1500 that I got to work on. Here's a classic car in the shop. Didn't get to work on this, but it was green on the outside before they primed it. And it did have a green matching interior, so that was super cool to see. Here's my mentor again. Here's a Dodge Ram. Came into the shop. It was a stolen and recovery. Got to work on that one. There's an old Toyota that came in. There's a BMW. Classic truck. I think it's a Ford. What do you think? Here's another old Ford that rolled in. I got to work on this one. It was such a hack job. I removed so much body filler on it. It was a nasty job. Here's a Ford Fusion that I worked on. At the beginning of 2022, I put my 2 weeks in, I packed up all my stuff, and I moved to Tennessee to try and get my foot in the door to learn a little bit of painting. I ended up working at a Nissan dealership as a combo guy. I started out repairing vehicles, and then they slowly started to push me into paint. I would repair the car, I would prep the car out for paint, and then I would paint the car. And we would also do touch-ups. If there were any scratches, we would polish them out. And then if there were any small rock chips, we would touch them up with a paintbrush. And most of our work there was not insurance related. It was more of a used car lot. It was just a small little dealership in East Tennessee. But going back to Mako just for a second, the type of work at Mako was insurance work, and it was also a lot of customer paid jobs, color changes. Anyways, I worked at this Nissan dealership for just a year. By the time 2023 rolled around, I ended up moving again, and now I work at a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership as a painter helper. More on that later. Let me show you some of the cars and projects that I got to work on at this Nissan dealership. The truck that you've been watching for the past couple minutes on screen, this is not something that you'd see every day at this dealership. Most of the cars that would come in here would be newer Nissans, Toyotas, Hyundais, Kias, and I think that's pretty much it. Mostly just foreign rides. But this old truck here, it was one of the managers at one of the other dealerships that came in for a touch-up or something very light and cosmetic, so we had it for a day or so, and it was pretty cool checking that thing out. Here's the paint side of the shop that consisted of the paint booth and the mixing room. Here is the mixing room right here. So then you'd walk out from the mixing room, you got the shaker, you got a table, got a gun cleaner over there. Then back into the mixing room, have a little chart up on the wall. Here's some more paint cans. Here's my work area, my toolbox. That day I was working on a Chevy Equinox, straightening out the front right door. Then I was also working on this Nissan truck. I was wearing my Mako shirt that day. Yeah, oh yeah. Here's the Chevy Equinox after paint. Here's a Honda Civic I got to work on. Also got to paint those two cars as well. Painted every car I got to work on. Here's the mixing room. Gotta make sure those green little birdies are flapping their wings. Make sure the paint is getting mixed. This was one of the first jobs I did down there. Pretty much the whole, well, half of the left side. Turned out pretty nice. This was my coworker Mitchell's 1991 or 2 Toyota pickup truck. He put so much time and work into this old thing, and it is such a beauty. Look at that. Did all of it at his house, the body work to paint. Such a phenomenal ride. Ooh, incoming. Look at this glass work. Oh man. Oh man, here's another awesome paint job. Did quite a few of these infinities. Back to my coworker's old Toyota pickup truck. Got the whole thing in primer right here.
I would like to fix it, use it. They have get somebody to the refrigerator and see if it works. Man, it's good. Yeah. Out of the way.
It's painting time. Now, before we started painting, one thing we did, took a spray bottle filled with water and we sprayed the entire garage floor down. That way we can keep the dirt levels in the air low. And we can avoid getting dirt in our paint job. video clip you're watching right now isn't really the best in terms of how a car is painted. At the time of this video, I was just 3 months into my painting career. Bear with me, there's more and better video footage to come. Since the beginning of 2023, I currently work at a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership, and for the most part, we do insurance work. And again, I am a painter helper. So what that essentially means, prep out the cars for paint, and then I also will paint the cars. And I also act as a backup painter, so when the main painter is gone on vacation or has a sick day, I will take over. We work as a team. We will both prep out and we will paint the cars. The reason why I transitioned from the auto body side to the paint side was when I moved down to Tennessee and I was working as a combo guy. That shop, we didn't do any insurance work. It was more of a paint focused shop. After spending a year at that dealership, I had developed an interest more for the paint side. I do miss doing some body work sometimes here and there, but for the most part, I would say I'm more of a painter than a body guy. And although I only have about 2 years of experience for body work, I have spent a ton of money on tools in a toolbox, and I still have a long way to go if I was to continue down that path. But to me, there's just something special about being in that paint booth and bringing color to a car. It's like bringing a new lease on life to a car. Don't get me wrong, body work, I do like it. Again, like I said, if you're trying to make that choice, either body or paint, you can do what I did and try out both sides. It does take a little bit of time to get your feet wet. When you think about it, it might seem like, oh, this is so much time, I can't decide which path to go down. Try out both, see which one you like. The collision repair industry as a whole is very underlooked. A lot of people, if they like cars and they want to do something with cars, they automatically think, ooh, I want to be a mechanic. But the way that the industry is shifting towards electrification, I had this thought quite a few times, ooh, I think I want to be a mechanic instead. I'm glad I didn't, because just the shift again towards electrification. All these cars are essentially large computers with batteries. A good chunk of these cars is going to be diagnosing and repairing batteries and installing batteries. With collision repair, a ton more that goes into just straightening out a panel and straightening out a frame. Brakes, steering, suspension, all of that stuff plays a major role into collision repair, and that's something that I didn't know until a year or two down the line when I was doing body work. So again, just the whole collision repair field, it's very underlooked. And I think there's a little bit more of a brighter future for collision repair techs versus mechanics. But also looking into the future of collision repair, I did go down to a school in Ohio 2 months ago now, and something we were talking about was these new cars that are electric and have batteries. So how it goes is when you paint a car right now, after you paint it, you bake it. The paint booth acts as an oven, or you pull the car out of the paint booth into an oven. That's how the Mako was that I worked at. And what you do is you bake the car at a high temp. Like at my work, cure it for 40 minutes at 155 degrees. The problem with these electric cars and the batteries are you can heavily damage the internals of a vehicle. This is a problem that the collision repair industry is looking into. So in the future of collision repair, I'm sure that there will have to be some training on electronics. So those are some of my thoughts. I'm gonna answer some common questions that I have gotten on my day in the life of an auto body tech video. A while back, someone asked me if I went to a trade school for bodywork. No, I did not hop into a trade school or get any sort of education prior to landing my first job with my foot in the door at a body shop. Again, I started at Mako, sanding and prepping cars for paint. And then after spending 9 months there, I was able to talk them into starting body work. So that's how I got started. If I was to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it any other way. I would not go to a trade school, and here's why. When I went to my HVAC trade school, it was a 9-month program. It was almost a year program. What they did was they threw so many things at you, kind of just like tasting what it could be like out in the field. But really, I've heard so many people when I was attending this school tell me that you won't actually know what it's like until you start in the field. And what you're learning right now is so much information. And you're not going to use all of that information on a daily basis. So what you pick up on the field and what they train you on at your job is kind of what you're gonna learn. And also, you get paid to learn too. It can't get much better than that. Would you rather go to a school, spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and then come out of school with all this debt, say 20 grand for instance? Or would you rather make 20, 25 grand your first year, for an example, with your foot in the door at a body shop, sweeping the floors, cleaning cars, being a body shop apprentice or a painter helper? The choice is yours. I wouldn't go to school personally. I would start applying to jobs, start walking into shops, tell them you have a desire to learn. You will do whatever it takes to get your foot in the door. You're honest, you're hardworking, all that good stuff. Don't go to school. Get your foot in the door. Someone will take you because no one wants to work today. Another question that I got on my video, someone commented, my local dealership has an opening for an auto body position. My concern is my health in the long term. How do you feel about being exposed to paint fumes and dust? He can be concerned about this because it is a thing. When you work in a body shop, there's a lot of dust. There's a lot of paint fumes if you're working around paint. I mean, you open the lids to some of these paint containers and it's strong and it's powerful. You can't help not to breathe it in and smell it. There's also loud noises too. I mean, there's grinders, there's cutoff wheels, all these loud noises going on. There's banging going on all day long when you're working in a shop, especially in a shop that does insurance work. So it's always important to have a pair of earmuffs. I have a pair of 3M earmuffs. They're Bluetooth and they play music and podcasts, all that good stuff. So you can be doing your work and jamming out at the same time, which is awesome. And then it's also very important to wear a respirator when you are working with body filler, when you're sanding and blocking, primer, Bondo, fiberglass, putty. If you are working with paint, always wear a respirator. You need to protect those lungs. You only get one set, you only get one life. Something that I was wondering before I got started in this field was what kind of education and what kind of benefits and insurance does a field like this offer? And to answer that question, it's all up to the place that you work at. Generally, like I was talking about before, if you work at a dealership, usually they take better care of you because they have a little bit more money to spend on their employees to take better care of them. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Like I said, with the response that I typed out to the person that was expressing their concern with paint fumes and dust, I said, definitely something to be cautious about. Wear your PPE, mask, respirator, gloves, earmuffs, and glasses if necessary. Try it out, see how you like it. P.S. Generally, dealerships do take better care of you versus smaller independent shops. They'll have PPE ready for you to go. Some small shops don't always like to spend the coin. That has been my friend's experience and my experience. For insurance and benefits, it's up to the shop. If I was just getting into this industry, I would try and strive to get myself into a dealership. Usually they have better education, more education, and they offer their employees better benefits. They have a lot more employees to take care of, and they have a lot more people working for them. So these places, when they have more people to insure and offer these benefits to, the more people they have working for them, the lower the rate that they can get to offer their employees. The same thing goes for education. It depends on the shop. Shops will train you as you stay there and level up. They'll train you how they want things done, and they can potentially send you to a school When you go in for an interview, those two things, insurance, benefits, education, definitely something to bring up and ask about. The dealership that I work at right now, they told me at my interview that education is a possibility, and when I got hired, they did sign me up about a month or two later for the schooling for my paint. So that was pretty awesome. And I did get a few iCar certificates from doing that school. I did learn a lot too. There was a lot of science, a lot of technical data behind all the painting that I had no idea about. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about in this video. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you're just getting started in this industry, I wish you great luck. If you're watching this and you've been in the industry for quite some time, comment down below what your experience has been like. Again, I only have three and a half years under my belt, and I don't plan on switching anytime soon because I really do like what I do. The pay is pretty decent for now for just starting out, and I really am looking forward to what kind of a future this career has to offer. I'm gonna wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Again, subscribe for more videos just like this, auto body and paint. I also have my 1986 Jeep Grand Wagoneer project, so definitely subscribe to that because I think it's such a project. But thanks for hanging out with me today. Hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care and have a great day. Something I almost forgot to mention, right before I started working at Mako in July of 2020, I was trying to look up a bunch of videos on whether or not I should get into this field. And I did find one video that truly changed my life. And I wanted to include that video in the description box below. What he said really spoke to me and encouraged me to get into this field. So after you're done watching my video, go on over and watch his video.